Okay, it's a game from Team 45 League. Start moving the pieces. Now this position, if he plays knight c6, this transposes into the Jagoran defense. Maybe not black's best line. Let me show you what I mean by this. Now white has this line. The main line is to take, but e3 is playable. Now e6 is black's best move, not necessarily knight f6. e5 is tricky. I won 3 blitz games, a couple in 2011 within a week apart, and then one about a year or so ago. Had showed the other 2 to one of my students. He loved it. Then I did it a 3rd time, and he couldn't believe it. Check. Like this. And then after knight takes, my opponent just grabbed without thinking, and checkmate. I got him in checkmate. Everything is working. That's good to hear. Okay. So anyway, little trick here. Now here, I don't think black should have gone this route. I think a good move is just take this pawn. Okay, black shouldn't fear a queen exchange. Let's look at why. Okay, see, the queen exchange check does develop black's rook. So black's got all 4 minors out, and he may not want a castle. He may want to put his king on e7, where the king would be closer to the center for the endgame. And if white takes this pawn, black may very well decide just to double the pawns up, and black's reasonably posted here. White can't bring his bishop to d2, and even if he doesn't take the knight, black could even play king e7 right now, and white can't develop bishop d2 because of bishop takes. So here I think black is a little bit better, ever so slightly, only because his king is better placed for the ending, and he's already got a rook, and the queen's bishop developed. The queen's rook and the queen bishop are developed. Okay, whereas white doesn't have it. The queen c7 is playable, but I think taking this pawn was stronger. Okay, so queen a4. Now bishop takes, and now we have to safeguard this bishop. So he ended up losing a tempo with that, and I don't think this move was necessary for white. Black's not planning to use b4 if he wanted to put his bishop there. He would have done it on this turn. Okay. Oops, we're too far back. Okay, so now I can say a3 doesn't really help white, and black chooses to castle. So, for what it's worth, black has a slight lead in development. White still has to bring this bishop into play, and black's a half tempo ahead. Look at how the king side is an exact symmetrical match. Everything matches except for the bishop. See, let's compare these bishops. Okay, and most of the rest of the board is a match too. The exceptions are the queens and these pawns. Everything else is purely symmetrical. So slight advantage black, very slight. And again, this wasn't necessary, but it's playable. Okay. Now this just ends up trading some pieces and keeps the game pretty much level. But black's starting to look for choice here for a number of reasons. Let's examine why. Okay, black's knight looks better than white's knight. Black's bishop looks better than white's bishop. Black's bishop has a little more scope. This bishop on d2 only has like 3 squares to go to, and it's bumping into pawns in most variations. Okay, so black's bishop is better, his knight's better. Black's queen is centralized, white isn't. The rooks, I guess we could say, are about even. Let's see, let me get rid of these circles. Okay, yeah, the rooks look about even. Both sides have a rook held back. Both have a rook on a file. So, black is arguably just a wee bit better, but it's white's turn. And he retreats, overprotects f2. Okay, so now he's threatening to pick up 2 rooks for the queen. Might have been more prudent to come over to the c file, but now black starts taking matters of c4 into his hands and going to double up. So now white challenges, and black just doubles up. So, we can argue still that now not only were these 3 pieces of black's better than these 3 of white's, we can also argue black's rooks are better than white's rooks. There's only, black's occupying c4. That's about the only trump card he's playing right now. And this doesn't improve white's game. Now we do have to be careful about the back rank in some lines. So white sets up a little, or black sets up a little trick here. He's inviting white into attacking the pin knight, which he does, and black has a clever little move here, knight g3. So the knight is unprotected, but so is the white queen. So white doesn't have time to play knight takes knight. So he takes here. Now black has 2 choices. Black only has 1 choice. He has to take this knight with check.
Check.
Okay. But wait, he could go ahead. Wait, I'm sorry. He just can't take the queen with the pawn. He could come back here, but he's down. But this doesn't seem to lead to anything good for black, whereas the other alternative does. Here white's going to maybe play e4. He's getting his bishop into the game. He's starting to find squares to put it. But black's taking here first, draws the king out where he becomes a target. And now black's able to take over the 7th rank, and white has an unhappy choice: step into a pin or retreat the king. And he chooses to retreat the king. And this is very, very close to a decisive advantage for black. Unfortunately, black went astray here, and we'll talk about what happened. But let's stop and pause for a moment. Black's rook is active. It's on the 7th rank. White's rook is passive. It's behind a pawn without an open file. White has a weak pawn on a3, and his pawn on e3 is even weak. Should that e3 pawn push up, and there's a trade on e4, well, white will have an isolated king pawn. So, that should be enough for black to win this. But there's one critical concept that's needed here. If you're familiar with Shereshevsky's book, In-Game Strategy, and it's an excellent book, he has one chapter called Do Not Hurry. And he gives many examples of endings which were quite favorable for one side, and all they did was try to rush their advantage, and it just disappeared. It vanished. So in this case, this pawn it's weak now. It's going to be weak 10 moves from now. It's going to be weak 20 moves from now. It's not going to improve itself. Right now, black controls not only the 7th rank, he controls the C file. So there's only one other open file for white to use, and that's the D file. But on the D file, what's he really threatening? He's not threatening a checkmate. Okay, the rook could come to the 7th. It could come to the 6th and maybe counterattack a6. It could come to the 5th and maybe hit the F pawn, and that's about all it can do. So let's get rid of these arrows and circles. So the proper move for black is just bring the king over. Now I always ask a question: what's white going to do? And the answer is we don't know. But he needs some activity, so let's put the rook on the D file. Okay. Try to get into one of these squares, but Black just plays king e7, and this king is getting ready to, to march up the board to a more favorable location, and then we can start thinking about going after this pawn. Okay, so what happens is black goes for it right away, and the main thing I want you to see, it's not that you're winning a pawn, it's, or might be winning a pawn, it's that you've given up this file, and when you take the pawn, if you do, you're also giving up control of the 7th rank. Okay, so we're giving to, and then we still have to convert our advantage. Okay, so white plays a little defense. Now, I guess after rook b3, black can still continue with king f8, and if the rook tries to go on the d file, we can still play king e7. But maybe white had better here. Let's suppose white decides, heck with the pawn, I'm gonna checkmate you. You can't take,
check,
because you fall into mate. So here, suddenly this rook got active. Now, yes, black can thwart that. How's it going to do that? Well, there's several ways. Let's come back and transfer the king. Now, rook c3 is out of the question, but suddenly, maybe white can put his rook on the 7th rank. And now the black king is constricted. He'll say, I know you're going to win that pawn. Go ahead. Let me try to get my king into the game. I don't know. Let's see here. And if check, maybe now we can play this move. And this certainly isn't a threat. Now, black has given up a lot here. He still has his rook on the 7th rank, but suddenly so does white. He's won a pawn, but he still has his work cut out for him to convert this advantage. And it's possible maybe black can surround this pawn, get the rook and the bishop on it and win it. But in the process, he may end up losing the a pawn, and white rook is suddenly active. So let's come back here. Let's see. Again, if we just play this move here, we're leaving this weak. We're not worrying about it. Okay, our objective is to bring this king up the board as far as we can, and penetrate with him and see what we can do. And white's more or less powerless. So now white decides he's going to go after the pawn. But this allows white a little rejoinder. Hello, you take my pawn, I'm going to take your king. Okay? That's the objective here. Take the pawn, you lose the king. Get checkmated. So suddenly, black has to deal with a threat before he can do what he wants to do. So, and probably this is the wrong way. We don't want our king running out this way. We want our king running out this way. So, but white just does this and pins the bishop. Now black's in a little bit of trouble here. Neither his rook or his bishop could move. It wasn't like this a little while ago, but now neither one can move. How does black get himself untangled here? He decides to bring the king over, but white has some ideas here. First off, he's going to clear a path for the king to come over, or something. Let's see. So he does bring the king up. That shields it from checks. And now white simply plays bishop c3, piling up on the pin piece, and black has turned a winning game into a losing game. The tragedy is that white got away with this moving too quickly, but we could also argue that black is moving too quickly too. He still has ample time on his clock. So let's just back up a little bit. This is when he played rook a2. Okay, his clock 25 plus 4 is 29. Black thought 16 seconds on this move. Now you have an average of almost 2 minutes a move. And not only that, Black has been going a little too quick already. He should be down around 18 to 20 minutes on his clock. So 16 seconds a move is not going to win you as many games as taking 2 minutes, up to 2 minutes a move will. So, I mean, it's certainly in Black's favor, but White's getting counterplay. He just slides over to the C file, the file you vacated. Okay, so here you want to bring the king out. Again, we'll check.
Check.
We'll check.
Check.
You want to come up? Want to come up further? Okay, I'll check you again. You want to come up over here? Well, okay, I'll go take this. And he takes this, and maybe Black says, or White says, go ahead, take my e pawn. And
Check.
Black's advantage has just vanished. The weak pawns are suddenly gone, traded for a couple of safe and secure black pawns that this rook on a6 had no business even coming close to. Okay, so don't hurry. You had a winning game, and you'll get it down. I've seen your play, Benny. You're doing well. And Mong, you got to slow down, and you wouldn't be in this situation. Okay, I'm going to stop this.